I'm just thinking when it comes to grinding, trying to get your money up, like it's such a thing we hear men say, but women are working so hard. Like every woman I know has had so many jobs, has worked in so many different fields, and like we're still relatively young as well. Why is the sentiment that men have to like grind so hard and they can't balance like a relationship, or like they can't do both when like women do it so easily?
Oh, you were finished. Oh, well, allow me to retort.
We can't do that because you have an inability to pair bond or sacrifice for a group in a group dynamic. Yet you want to call relationships partnerships instead of what they should be, relationships and whatnot. Okay, a lot of men grind and work exorbitant hours to stay barely ahead of the curve, if that's even possible, only for you to demand their full attention, sacrificing everything else and shit, and demand their resources. Okay, demand that their resources be used in frivolous ways when you could save for a rainy day. You don't understand this and whatnot. All you see is what's at the end of your nose and whatnot. You live in the echo chamber and whatnot, and you have issues that you refuse to deal with. Okay, you have issues that you refuse to deal with. A lot of men have multiple jobs, and most of the gentlemen that I know, they have multiple jobs and were successful. They eschewed dating or being in any serious relationships for a long period of time, 5 to 15 years. At which point they made an educated decision to date and marry outside of the community and shit, or leave the country altogether and shit. One gentleman took his children and moved to Canada and became an expatriate. All right, this is in game. He worked a number of jobs, and he used one of the 3 jobs he had to pay for childcare, and the other stuff he socked away and shit while taking copious amounts of abuse from his baby mama and shit until he was able to leave the country with his 2 small children for what I would only hope is a better life and shit. Okay, for you to sit up and ask this redundant question that you already know an answer to, begs the question of why you yourself and people with your mindset are pieces of shit. Okay, you cannot pair bond. Okay, you cannot sacrifice for the whole and shit. You think about yourself solely and shit. That's the way you guys are and shit. You have a very childish worldview that begins and ends with you. Okay, so you don't understand. We could explain it to you all day. We could pull out a whiteboard and a dry erase, whiteboard, and a felt tip marker and write on that bitch and explain it to you in layman's terms. I could talk to you like you're a child, which you are mentally and financially and shit, but you would never understand it or whatnot. You annoy the fuck out of me. You annoy the fuck out of the men that be with you, but a lot of them are sacrificing copious brain cells and peace and shit just to have some used box. Okay? Right? You know the answer to the question, and you know that you are unsuitable for any kind of long-term relationship or serious commitment and shit. And you're angry about it, but you refuse to address it and do better. Okay? Right? You can go fuck yourself. Okay? To stop making these stupid ass videos. You won't, there's an old saying and shit. I'm just gonna tack it on to the end of this short ass bitch for you. Okay? My nigga.
If you didn't want the answer, you shouldn't have asked the question.